So anyway, once there, Pinocchio's buried. A parrot mocks him for falling for the fox and catch tricks. Pinocchio rushed to Catch Fool's courthouse, where he reported the theft of the coins to a gorilla judge. Although he was moved by Pinocchio's plea, the gorilla judge sentenced him to 4 months in prison for the crime of foolishness. Fortunately, all criminals were released early when the Emperor of Catch Fools declared a celebration following his army's victory over the town enemies. As Pinocchio headed back to the forest, he found an enormous snake with a smoking tail blocking the way. He asked the serpent to move, but it remained completely still, and he assumed it was dead. He began to step over it, but it suddenly rised up and hissed at him, topping him over onto his head. Struck by Pinocchio's fright and comical position at the snake's yard to steal some grapes, he was caught in a weasel trap and encountered a glowworm. The farmer found him and ties him up in a doghouse. When Pinocchio foiled the chicken-stealing weasels, the farmer freed him as a reward. Pinocchio finally returned to the cottage, but there he found nothing but a gravestone. He believed the fairy had died. A friendly pigeon sees Pinocchio mourning the fairy's death and offered to give him a ride to the seashore, where Geppetto was building a boat to search for Pinocchio. Pinocchio was washed ashore when he tried to swim into his father, who was swallowed by the terrible dogfish. Pinocchio accepted a ride from a dolphin to the island of busy bees, where everyone works every day. Upon arriving there, Pinocchio offered to carry a lady's jug home in return for food and water, and upon arriving at her house, he recognized the lady as a fairy, now old enough to be his mother. She said she will act as his mother, and he will begin to go into school. She hinted that if he does well in school and is good for 1 year, then he will become a real boy. Pinocchio studied hard, rises to the top of his class, making the other boys jealous. They tricked Pinocchio into playing hooky by saying they saw a large sea monster at the beach, the same one that swallowed Geppetto. However, they were lying, and a fight breaks out during which Pinocchio was accused of injuring another boy. He escaped and along the way saved a drowning mastiff named Alidoro. Would lead the boys in a land of toys, toys. Pinocchio does excellently in school, and the fairy promised that he will be a real boy for the next day, saying he should invite all his friends to the party. He goes to invite everyone, but he was sidetracked after meeting Candlewick, one of his closest friends, who tells him he is heading to a place called Toyland, where children play all day and never work or study. Pinocchio goes along with him, and they have a wonderful time for next 5 months. One morning, Pinocchio and Candlewick awake with donkey's ears. A marmot tells Pinocchio that he had gotten donkey fever, as boys who played and never studied or worked turned into donkeys. Soon, both Pinocchio and Candlewick were fully transformed, and Pinocchio was sold to a circus, where he was trained to do tricks. He fell and sprained his leg after seeing the fairy in one of the box seats. The ringmaster then sells Pinocchio to a man who wanted to skin him and use his hide to make a drum, and threw him into the sea to drown him. But when he goes to retrieve the corpse he found Pinocchio, he explained that the fish ate all the donkey skin off, and he was now a puppet again. Pinocchio dived back into the water and swam out to sea. where a terrible dogfish appeared and swallowed him. Inside the dogfish, Pinocchio unexpectedly found Geppetto, and they escaped with help from a large tuna and looked for a new place to live. Pinocchio and Geppetto encountered a fox and a cat who were now impoverished and lame and blind respectively. They plead for food and money, but Pinocchio rebuffs them and tells them Pinocchio got a job doing work for a farmer and recognized his dying donkey as his friend Candlewick. After long months of working for the farmer and supporting the alien Geppetto, Pinocchio goes to town with the 40 pennies he has saved to buy himself a new suit. He discovered that the fairy was ill and needed money and gives the snail he met back on the island of busy bees all of his money. That night he dreamt that he was visited by the fairy, who kissed him. When he woke up, he was a real boy. When his puppet body lying lifeless on a chair, the fairy had also left him a new suit, boots, and a bag which contains 40 gold coins. Also returned to his health. Until Walt Disney and a group of 9 old